Welcome back, Wealth Tubers. Today, we're tackling the complex story of Trump's return to office. This wasn't a landslide, but it was a decisive win that made Trump the first Republican to secure the popular vote since 2004. His message resonated across diverse demographics, from Hispanic voters in Florida to urban centers like San Francisco. Why? Because at the heart of this election was the economy. Inflation and rising prices hit home for millions of Americans, overshadowing other issues and driving voters to cast their ballots in favor of change. Yet the economy wasn't the only factor. Immigration, concerns about election integrity, and distrust in the Democrats' handling of Biden's exit also shaped this election. Voters weren't swayed by warnings that Trump was a unique threat to democracy. Many just wanted a return to the pre-pandemic days when they felt life was better. In this video, we'll break down each of these influences to understand why Trump's message of going back outshined Harris's promise of moving forward. So, let's dive into the data and insights that define this election. It is a solid win for Trump, but less convincing than major change elections, such as Obama in 2008. Donald Trump will have a second term in office on the back of an election victory in which he won not only the Electoral College, but the popular vote as well, the first Republican to carry the popular vote since 2004. Trump has made gains across the entire country, with every demographic group, from Hispanic voters in Florida to the Bronx to San Francisco. With the exception of a few minor counties on the Great Plains and some suburban counties around Atlanta, voters have consistently swung to Trump. But it's not a landslide. Despite some jitters from Democrats over their safe state of Virginia, Trump took the 7 swing states that polls indicated were incredibly tight, and no more. A majority of voters in 8 states voted to enshrine abortion in their state constitutions. The House is still close. It's a solid win for Trump, but less convincing than major change elections, such as Obama in 2008. After picking through the data, here's what we know about why.
Voters really cared about the economy.
When people start to feel poorer, they vote in their own perceived economic interests. And voters particularly hate inflation, more than unemployment, and more than enough to offset any possible benefit from a reasonably robust stock market and other strong economic indicators. Being reminded of high prices multiple times a day has a powerful effect on voters. Prices in the U.S. have gone up by 22% since Biden came to power, much like they have in the UK, and much like in the UK, voters have punished the party in power. The economy was the #1 issue for voters in every single swing state, and nationally. Both nationally and in swing states,
Democrats struggled on immigration.
Democrats attempted to frame immigration as an issue they can solve, and one that isn't as significant as Trump attempted to make it. But illegal crossings really did soar during the Biden administration, and Trump was able to weaponize fears over that, maintaining a consistent lead on the issue. Total border enforcement actions. During the Biden administration, entries on the southern border have soared.
Trump as a threat to democracy failed.
While Harris didn't as run heavily on the Trump threat to democracy as you might expect, much like Biden in 2020, her billion-dollar ad campaign focused more on the economy. It was still a key plank of her campaign. And voters didn't buy it. It's possible to see why, because ultimately, the guardrails held in 2020. Trump left office, and voters found it hard to believe that he wouldn't in the future. Just as importantly, the Trump campaign was also able to set up an effective counter-narrative stemming from false claims of vote rigging in 2020. 1 in 3 Trump voters said it was the most important issue for their vote.
Voters actually wanted to go back.
When Donald Trump left office, his approval rating had collapsed to 34%, but by the time of the election his favorability had rebounded to 48%. Part of that can be contributed to his attempts at detoxification through an unusual media strategy. But the most critical thing is that voters felt like their lives were better during the pre-COVID part of their presidency. Harris lent on the idea of going forward, not back, but that didn't resonate with voters who preferred Trump to his successor, Biden, whose approval rating is just 39%. Others disliked both candidates to a similar level.
Voters distrusted Democrats after Kamala.
In 2020, Biden actively described himself as a bridge to the next generation, heavily implying he planned to be a one-term president. Once in power, that implication disappeared, with Democrats vigorously defending his abilities. But after his catastrophic debate and subsequent replacement, voters were being asked to believe that senior Democrats, including the candidate, thought that Biden's condition meant he had to be replaced after months of maintaining steadfast support for him. Alongside the lack of a primary for Harris, this didn't help voters build trust. 40% of voters said they trusted Trump, and 46% said they trusted Harris, not enough to offset Trump's strength in other areas.
Voters don't like incumbents.
A global trend in the past decade is that voters are shifting against incumbents. The vast majority of Western leaders face profoundly negative approval ratings. Whether Starmer in the UK, Trudeau in Canada, or Scholz in Germany, political leaders are typically unpopular, meaning they face electoral challenges. Biden was no different, and Harris was unable to meaningfully separate herself from her president. Voters were angry and unhappy, and they wanted change. 30% of them said they wanted total upheaval. And the candidate who represented that was Trump. In the end, this election represents a solid win for Trump, even if it doesn't quite reach the scale of transformative change elections like Obama's in 2008. Trump managed to achieve a feat that's been elusive for Republicans since 2004, winning the popular vote. His message resonated widely, drawing support from a broad spectrum of voters and securing crucial swing states that tipped the scales in his favor. However, despite the decisive nature of his victory, this was not a sweeping landslide. Trump succeeded in capturing the core battlegrounds but didn't break into new or unexpected regions, leaving some traditionally Democratic areas largely unshaken. This outcome reflects a complex blend of voter motivations. Economic frustration was central, as many Americans felt the sting of inflation and rising prices, leading them to seek a leader who they felt would prioritize their economic concerns. But it wasn't just about the economy. Many voters also voiced discontent with the Democrats' handling of immigration and the leadership transition from Biden to Harris, viewing these issues as evidence of a party that had lost touch with their priorities. Furthermore, an anti-incumbent sentiment, seen not only in the U.S. but globally, underscored a desire for change. Trump's call to go back to what many remembered as better times appealed to these voters more than Harris's forward-focused vision. This election, then, serves not only as a referendum on the current state of the economy but as a pivotal turning point, suggesting a realignment in what Americans want for the future and the type of leadership they believe can deliver it. Thanks for tuning in, Wealth Tubers. We've explored the layers behind Trump's victory, an economic-driven win. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to stay up to date with all our latest content. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.